Okay, so hi guys, I'm Anirudh, and I'll be taking this webinar along with Soumya. And I'm placed at Bain. I interned at this company called Cargill, and that's all about me. Soumya, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Right. So hi, I'm Sam. I guess I should have done this in the beginning. For those of you who did not attend the last session, I am placed in Bain as well, and I interned at Microsoft GSMO. Again, just taking a session on case interviews. So let's just get started.
Okay, so Soumya, is the screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so hi guys. The session today is on case interviews, and as Soumya already mentioned, we'll be having the sessions on case interviews in three parts. And today is the first day, so we'll be introducing you to the basics of case interviews, to the different types of case interviews, and you'll learn how to tackle them. Okay, so what are case interviews and how are they different from case studies? So most of you must have heard both of these terms. Maybe case studies, more of case studies, less of case interviews. But then you might have heard of both of the terms, and there's a difference between the both. Case interviews are different from case studies, and it different in a way that in case studies, what happens is you're provided with all information, you're provided with all data, and then they are following questions based on a case. Okay, so you're given the case, there's whole data, whole information about whatever problem there is, and then there are following questions and you're supposed to solve based on the information. Whereas what happens in case interviews is, okay, I'll just okay, you can see the example in the bottom of the slide. The example here is your client is a petrol pump owner. He has recently seen losses in his business. What might be going wrong? So this is the question. This is basically initially what you are going to be told by the interviewer. This is the only thing that you're going to be told. Okay, nothing else. So this is what a case interview is. Okay, you're just given the question and you don't have any information beforehand. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to ask the right questions to the interviewer and extract the meaningful information, the data that you require from the interviewer, and then solve the case. So case interview is different from a case study in the manner that you don't have the information already. You just have this bit of information. Okay, that there's a petrol pump owner and he's seeing losses in his business. You're supposed to find out what is going wrong. So this is how a case interview is different from a case study. Soumya, would you like to add anything here?
No, you've covered it. So yeah, you've covered most of it.
Okay, so let's move on to the next slide then.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So now we look at the types of case questions. You have mostly three types. There are more, but companies generally don't ask beyond these three. So the first is number cases. So number cases are pure mathematics. There's no business acumen involved or any prerequisite knowledge. So if you take a look at an example, our total manufacturing costs are 20 million. With that, we can make 39,379 units. What is our approximate cost per unit? Now, so if you see, it's a simple math question. You just have to divide. So companies generally don't ask only this. They will ask this in addition to another case question. So for Bain, I was not asked this, but another person was asked this question. Not exactly this question, but a number case, and then along with that, a profitability question. So coming to the next one, we have profitability cases. For example, a client is a teakwood manufacturer. They have been reporting too high profits and want you to figure out why that is so. So here, our aim is to find out something relating to profits. The question could also be relating to losses. So the entire question sort of revolves around finding out why we have either too high profits or we have too low profits, or we're going into losses, or we're not able to attain a profit. So that's what profitability cases are. And the last one is market entry cases. Now, these are when a company wants to diversify and enter into a different market. They may have some stakeholding beforehand, they may not have, it might be completely new to them. That depends on the case. So, for example, our client is a telecom operator. They are looking to diversify their presence in India and wish to enter the electronic home security market. So, you can see that they're a telecom operator, but they wanted to enter the electronic home security market. So, these are two different markets. They want you to estimate potential profits and want you to suggest how to capture significant market share. So, although this does include profits, the main part of the case is not profits, it's definitely market entry. And that is what the majority of the case focuses on. Potential profits is just a very small part. So, today we won't be covering profitability or market entry. We'll do that in separate sessions. Number cases are very simple, it's just simple math. We'll be covering more of an overview of case interview, sorry.
Okay. Guys, if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box now at this stage. Any questions? Also, I'd like to request you to like stay patient in this one. This one is going to be a long one. Okay, the presentation is also very long. It is going to be a little bit difficult as well to understand. I'll just request you to stay patient. Try to understand. Ask as many questions as you want. We'll try to answer them all. Hopefully, you'll be able to learn how to participate in a case interview by the end of the session. At least the basics.
Okay, so somebody's asked how to tell why there are two high profits. Okay, so basically, in a case interview, it's all about communicating with the interviewer. So when you're given a question, we'll go through this step by step. So when you're given a question, you ask generally preliminary questions, and when you ask preliminary questions, then you can ask them why there are two why is this a problem? Like for example, like so you see, right? Somebody getting too high profit should not be a problem. That's a good thing for them. But they have gone to a expert and they've asked for advice on why we're getting too high profits, and they want you to figure out why that is. So how to tell why there are too high profits, that you will find out throughout the entire process. We'll go through the process, then you'll be able to tell. But something as simple as why we're looking at too high profits, you should ask right in the beginning. And we'll share the PPT at the end, and again we'll share the recording also at the end. Notes of the first session, we'll come back to that. We do not have any recordings of the first session, so I think you may have just missed that.
Yeah. If there aren't any other questions, we can move on to the next slide then.
Yeah, I think let's move on.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll be covering a basic guideline, okay, to solve case interviews. And what we'll be doing in this presentation is we'll be telling you about the guideline. Okay, we'll go through each step individually after like telling you about the whole guideline, all the guidelines, and then we'll also take along an example. The first example that we showed you, the first slide had that example. So we'll take along that example throughout the presentation to help you make you better understand how to solve a case interview. Okay, so I'll go through the guidelines now then. The first point is summarize the question. After you've been asked the question, it is always best to summarize the question just in case you've left something, or if there's any ambiguity, it's always better to summarize the question. There's positioning of the paper. We'll come back to it in the next slide. Verify the objectives. It is also very important because sometimes what happens is you might not understand what you're supposed to do. You've been asked the question, but you might not understand. So it is always best to verify what your objective is, what you're supposed to solve, what you're supposed to do. Okay. Then there's ask preliminary questions. This also will bring up in the next few slides. There's develop a strategy, segmentation, communicate your thought process. This is also again very important. We can't stress this enough. Again, just like guesstimates, you're supposed to communicate your thought process here as well. You should think out loud. Again, the interviewer should know what your thoughts are, what you're thinking, how you're approaching the problem. Okay, so communicate well, isolate the problem, identify the problem, and then make recommendations. Always give supporting reasons along with your recommendations, because the interviewer must know why you're making these recommendations. Why do you think the company should act this way? Always give them supporting reasons. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next slide then. Go ahead, Soumya.
Okay, so one thing I just want to say, when we take up the example, Anirudh is going to be the interviewer and I'm going to be the interviewee. So everything that I am saying is what an interviewee or you in an interview would say. All right. So when you start a case interview, you get a piece of paper. And I would highly recommend that you follow this. Of course, it's not compulsory, but the format that I'm giving you will divide your paper into neat four sections, and you can write down everything clearly. So right at the top, we divide it into a very thin line. So you have write the objective or the key question of the case. So now if we go back to the case that we are taking up, it's the petrol pump case. So that your client is a petrol pump owner. He has recently seen losses in his business. What might be going wrong? So here I would write that my client is a petrol pump owner and I have to find out why there are losses in his business. Then on the left, again, I've drawn a margin. Here, it's the space to jot down notes from the initial prompt. Yes, we'll share the presentation at the end. So the left side is to jot down the notes from the initial prompt. So whatever I've gotten, for example, the fact that there are losses, I'll write down that. What might be going wrong? So I have to find out why there are losses. Again, I'll write down that. The middle part is the main working of the case. So we'll be sharing some structures as we go on. So we can use those structures to find out why why this problem is occurring, and we try to localize the problem. Again, recommendations, although they are a very I would definitely suggest to give recommendations. Some interviews do not require recommendations. So right at the end of the case, when you're done with finding out the problem and it's time to give the recommendations, always ask the interviewer, should I continue with this? Should I give some recommendations? If they say yes, then give them. If not, then okay, then leave it there. And on the right side, if it's a mathematical problem, if there is any maths involved, you have space for calculation. So that's how you would position your paper. Again, so this is not vertical, this is horizontal. Why? Because the structure that we use is a sort of a tree diagram. So more space to write that down in the middle. So we place the paper horizontally. Okay, we can go to the next slide. All right. Okay. So how to ask preliminary questions? Okay. So right. So when you're given a case, the first thing you have to do is ask preliminary questions. That is basically anything that you find ambiguous in the case in the given statement, you ask here. All right. So okay. So let's go back to the example. You'll understand better with the example. So we have a petrol pump situation. So now what? So since I'm the interviewee, I can ask some questions to my interviewer to try and figure out some details about the case. Now, what we have done is sort of divided it into some 5, 6 steps, and you should follow these steps and try and apply all of these steps to all of your case interviews which you practice. So, okay, so right in the beginning, you should ask open-ended questions. Try and figure out what the case is and what problem you're trying to solve. So the first one is okay, so clarify any ambiguous question. So if sales is mentioned, suppose the case interview had the word sales in it, that your sales are declining. Does that mean the revenue is declining or the units sold is declining? So stuff like this, anything that seems ambiguous to you, which may mean more than one thing, clarify that right in the beginning so that you don't go off on a tangent and end up solving something you're not supposed to. The next is the product. So here we figure out what exactly the product is. Here, if it's clothes, then we can figure out, okay, are we looking at only tops? Are we looking at only jeans? Are we looking at a wide variety? This all matters because that only according to that will you take your customer segment into account. Again, the disadvantages or the advantages of the product, this may be the factor um, which is the problem in your case. The next one is about the company. Right. Again, very important. Figure out the geography where the company is operating in. That matters. And where is it placed in the value chain? Value chain will come to in the uh, further slides. And so the value chain is basically production, then distribution, and then marketing. So we have to figure out if the company that's operating, is it in the production side, in the distribution side, or is it in the marketing side? So that way we can localize the problem and figure it out. Also, how long has this problem been an issue? If it's short term, then maybe you would look at something short term affecting the problem. If it's long term, again, you would look at long term factors. The next point is Anirudh, next point.
Soumya, can you see the next point?
No, I can't. Is it just me or can nobody see?
My internet.
No, okay, yeah, there's some issue.
Okay.
Anirudh, I'll share.
Can you see it now?
No. Okay, yeah, wait, it's presenting. Yes, all right, okay. So the next point is the industry. So are we looking at the problem as company specific or industry wide? So here, if it's company specific, you need to look at the company's internal workings. But if it's industry wide, then it means that it's not just your company. It's something affecting every single company. So you can look at industry wide factors. Again, what is our market share helps if you're looking at increasing profitability question or minimizing losses, something like that. Next point is the competition. All right, so okay, I know the PPT is stalled again. Okay, competitor benchmarking. Here we're looking at where do we stack up in relation to our competitors? Are we on the same level? Are our costs too much? Are they too less? Are we making profit somewhere else? So that's what we can ask relating to how our case is aligned. So this is the questions you should be asking right in the beginning. As and when you go on throughout the case, you should definitely, your questions should become close-ended. Don't ask broad questions because the interviewer will think that you're just trying to get them to answer the questions for you so that they're solving the case. And you shouldn't do that. So you should, you'll know when you cross that line when the interviewer says, what do you think? At that point, you need to narrow down your question or come up with some suggestions there. Okay, so let's go back to our example.
Okay, guys, I would just like to mention here that we've tried to make a systematic stepwise process for the whole thing. Just remember, they're going to be the steps that you'll be using from like any case interview in general. Okay, so this will be the first step. You'll be asking questions. Okay, and in this order only. And you might not ask a few questions if they're already clear. So if there's no ambiguity, you don't need to like clarify ambiguous questions for that case. So just that way. If it's clear, you don't need to ask. Otherwise, you have to ask this question in this order only. But you might choose to. Okay. So.
All right, so we're coming back to our example.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have petrol pump. So our petrol pump case. Okay, so here I would start to ask preliminary questions because. Okay, so, right, so I would start to ask preliminary questions because I'm not very sure of exactly what I'm trying to find here. So first and foremost, we had okay. What are the various products sold at this pump? So we just know that it's a petrol pump. We don't know if they're selling petrol, if they're selling diesel, if they're selling CNG. We don't know that. So we should clarify that first and foremost. So what are the various products sold at this pump? Is a particular business not doing well?
Okay, so yeah, the interviewer could say ABC sells petrol and diesel. Both businesses have suffered.
Okay, so now I can realize that it's not just petrol or it's not just diesel. It's both products that are going down. Now I look at how many petrol pumps does the client own, and how many of them have a problem? Are we looking at an all India level, or are we looking at just a specific area? So here we're trying to localize the geography. So how many of them have a problem, and where are they located?
Yeah. He owns 50, out of which one has a problem. It is located on a highway joining Delhi and Chandigarh.
Right. So now here we've localized the problem. It's not an all India thing. It's just on that specific highway that's joining Delhi and Chandigarh. So now we're only going to look at problems that occur there. Now I'll come to the time factor. Is this a recent issue, or has it been happening over time?
Okay, so we have seen this in the past few years.
Right. So now here I can understand that this is not a very long term effect. It's not been happening for 10, 15 years, but just a couple of years. And have all petrol pumps in the area reported reduced profits? So again, is it industry wide or company specific?
You don't have.
Anirudh, we're not able to hear you.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me,
now I
Soumya?
can. Okay.
Have.
So okay. So what he's trying to say is that we don't have exact figures on the whole, but all of them have reported reduced profits. So we're seeing here that it's not a company specific, but it's an industry wide problem in that area. So these are the preliminary questions that I would ask right in the beginning. So now I have a little more clear vision of what exactly I'm supposed to find and what exactly I'm supposed to solve. I know a little bit more about the company. So this is how you should aim to ask your preliminary questions right in the beginning.
Yeah. So just remember, you have to ask questions related to the product, the company itself, and the industry. Maybe, yeah, the whole industry. So is it only specific to the company or the whole industry? These are basically all preliminary questions. You might revisit the previous slide and you'll know what exactly those preliminary questions are. But these are broadly the ones that somebody might ask after a case has been asked. So okay, let's move on to the next slide then, Soumya.
Yeah. All right, okay. Now here we develop a strategy. So we saw that our first aim was to find the preliminary questions. Now we're going to figure out exactly how we can solve this. So we have a couple of strategies for you. You can take a look at them, use them as and how it applies to the case. So the first one is
can you see it, Soumya?
yeah, I can. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first one is profit structure. And here what we'll be doing is, this is mainly for the profitability cases. What we do is the profit, for the profit, if there's a problem with the profit, it might be too high or it might be too low, whatever you're supposed to find out. What you can do is, for profit, you can calculate the revenue. You can look at the revenue or the cost. Okay, and we know that profit is equivalent to revenue minus cost. So it has uh, the issue either affects the revenue or the cost, and only then the profit has changed. Okay, so we'll look at the revenue first and then the cost. We'll narrow it down to one of them. If we come to know that it's revenue, that even if the revenue has changed, there can be a change in the price or the number of units that we've been selling. Again, in the cost also, there can be a change in the cost per unit, the cost of manufacturing every unit, and the number of units. So what we do is we follow this tree down, okay, from top, okay, and we narrow it down to the problem that actually is the issue. Okay, so if we move from profit, the first thing we can do is we can check if there's an issue with the revenue or with the cost. And if the cost has been eliminated, we know that there's a problem with the revenue, we'll move on to the price or the number of units. Similarly, if there was, and vice versa. So If there was a problem with the cost, we would have moved down to cost per unit and number of units. So that is the profit structure.
Right,
Next we
just
move
adding
on.
to that, so profit is revenue minus cost. I hope you realize how this tree is being formed. Profit is revenue minus cost. Revenue, you can write it as price into the number of units. Cost, you can write as cost per unit into the number of units. So we're just trying to divide each part into its subsequent smaller parts so that we can localize the problem. Okay, right. Now the next one.
Yeah, exactly. So next we'll have a look at the value chain. So this was also previously mentioned by Soumya in the preliminary questions. So so this is the value chain, guys. And the value chain can be divided into three parts: production, distribution, and marketing. Guys, can you see the slide?
Now we can. Now we can.
Okay, so yeah, the value chain can be divided into production, distribution, and marketing. So the preliminary question was, you were supposed to ask where in the value chain does our company operate in? Okay, so the company could have been operating in the production side, which would mean the company is manufacturing the goods or the product. It could be in distribution, which is distributing to the different distribution channels, and then it could also be involved in marketing. So these are the three different parts of the value chain. And this is what you were supposed to ask in the preliminary questions. So the production here includes raw materials and operations, distribution includes delivery, and marketing includes marketing and sales and service. So this is the value chain. This is a very important tool that, like, this you must know about the value chain, because it will frequently come up in all kinds of case interviews. So
Right. How you would go about this would be like you would ask questions related to the raw materials. If there's no problem there, you can move on to the operations. Again, no problem there, you move on to the delivery part. So that's how you're localizing the problem. You're going step by step. This is just a structure you need to follow. Again, if it only fits into the case. If it does not fit, then there's no compulsion to use this particular strategy. You can use a different one. But we're just trying to localize the problem. You'll see when we come back to the petrol pump example, we'll use one of these one of these strategies. All right. Okay. So the next one. Okay. So for my advice would be to use one of the first two strategies if you can. If the interviewer by any chance tells you not to use those strategies, which happened to me in my interview, then you can come to one of the following two. These are not these are very common strategies and they're not exceptionally great, but you can use them if you forget any other strategy. So the first one is 5 Cs. These stand for company, costs, competition, consumers or clients, and our channels. So what we're looking at is we're going to go through one by one. When you're doing your case interview, you go through them one by one, try and figure out if the problem lies in any one of these particular slots. So the first one is company. So here you look at what you know about the company, how big is it? Is it a public or private company? What kind of products or services does it offer to its clients? If there's no change in any of that, then you go to costs. Costs would be what are the major costs? Have the costs changed at any point in time? Are they different as compared to other competitors in the industry? And how can we reduce them if the costs are too high? Then you'd go to the competition and you look at who are our biggest competitors, what market share would we hold, and has that changed at all in the last year or so, or however long your case interview is focused on, and how do our products differ from the competition. Again, if there's nothing there, you go to consumers and clients. Who are they? What do they want? Are we fulfilling their needs? Again, if some other product is having a better so if some other company is having a better product which is fulfilling the client's needs better, then do we need to change our product? Do we need to add any features? Channels is our distribution channels. How do we get our product into the hands of the end user? So from production, if we're a production firm, so if we do production by ourselves, how do we get that product from us to the end users? So can we increase our distribution channels? Are we not charging them enough? Sorry, are they charging us too much? And are there any areas of the market that we're not reaching? So that would be how you would use 5 Cs to localize a problem. The next is 4 Ps. Again, this is very similar They're just different names. It's product, price, place, and promotions. Each is self-explanatory. Product, you're looking at the product. Anything related to the features of the product. Price, you're looking at the price of it, and as well as the costs. Place would be again our distribution channels, and promotions is, are we marketing right? Okay, so coming back to the petrol pump example, since it's a profitability case, I would use the profit structure that we explained right in the beginning. Now, I would, as we go along, I would ask the interviewer, okay, have we seen profits decreasing? By how much? Okay, if profits are decreasing, then okay, so then revenue less or is cost too much? Once I localize that out, I'll go into the subsections. Okay.
Yeah. So, guys, I would like to mention here that we are using revenue here instead of we are using transactions here instead of number of units. This is because we are looking at a petrol pump, right? So we'll look at the transactions because the transactions might vary. One vehicle might come and like say the liters of fuel, the amount of fuel that every vehicle is refueling. So that might vary. So we'll look at the number of transactions, and that will basically depend on the number of vehicles that are coming to a petrol pump. Okay. So yeah, that's it, I guess. When we go down if there's a change in revenue, we'll look at revenue per transaction and the number of transactions. If there's a change in cost, we'll look at the cost per unit and the number of units.
It may be that you only have a change in one of them. It may be that you have multiple changes across the structure. So that all depends on case to case.
Yeah. Shall we move on to the next slide then?
Yeah, right. So we can pause if there are any questions at this point.
Yeah. Guys, you can also like follow along the tabs in the bottom. That will give you an idea of how we are proceeding, like step by step. The first thing was positioning of the paper, then there comes preliminary questions, and then we're coming to developing our strategy. We'll then move on to the segmentation part, and then finally isolate the problem.
All right. Okay. I don't think there are any questions. We can continue. Oh, wait. Okay. How many preliminary questions should we ask? Right. Okay. So I showed you the basic structure right in the beginning of preliminary questions. So feel free to ask as many as you think are relevant to your case. If you think that some are not relevant in the example that we've given, in the broad outline that we've given, don't ask those. If they're already given in the question, again, don't ask those. Ask ones that you think are relevant. These are basic questions that you can ask. If you feel like there's something else you should know, you can ask that. The interviewer will answer whichever one they think is best, whichever one they think is relevant. If they think it's not relevant, they'll tell you it's not relevant.
Also, the ones we've covered here in our slide, these mostly like they broadly cover all preliminary questions that you can ask. Okay, I don't think there would be any other questions out of it, but yeah, mostly these only. These are the questions that you need to ask.
Okay, so there's another question. Can you explain channel? Anirudh, that's related to the value chain.
That's related to?
Value chain. Can you explain channel?
Yeah, okay. So as Soumya mentioned, channel is okay. So channel is how you distribute your product. Okay, if you're the manufacturer, you might distribute your product through various channels. You could sell it online. E-commerce is a channel. Okay, you could also sell it offline through wholesale and retail, right? So those are also two channels. So your channel is basically, the channels are called distribution channels. So the different ways that you use to distribute a product, those are your distribution channels.
Okay, I didn't realize you were asking about channel in the 5 C's, but in the value chain, it's delivery. So each of these things that we're mentioning is common in all of the strategies. It's just it's named something else. And it depends on how you remember them. So here, channels, again, it's the distribution channel. So suppose I am a company who is producing clothes, right? And the end consumer would be you guys, you're buying the clothes. So how would I get those clothes to you? So that would be only being a producer. I would give it to some second party who would then take it to you, right? So you have retailers. So I would get it to the shops. For example, if I would get the Lifestyle, and then Lifestyle would present it to you so that you can sell, so that they can sell the clothes to you. So that's what distribution channels are. Again, of course, they would charge us and then we would give them a cut of the profit. So this is what we're looking at: are the costs and prices too low or too high? Okay. Another question: are these strategies applicable to market entry cases also? Market entry cases will come to. We have a couple of different strategies for market entry cases, so that will be done in a future workshop. Okay, the next question is: what is the difference between revenue per transaction and number of transactions? Anirudh, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. Okay. So see, revenue per transaction in your petrol pump case would become, for example, a vehicle goes and buys like 100 rupees worth of petrol. So that is your revenue per transaction, and you'll find out the average. Say, okay, the average revenue per transaction. So if on average every vehicle comes and like they get petrol worth 100 rupees, your revenue per transaction would become 100 rupees. Okay, and the number of transactions would depend on how many vehicles come and like get refueled there. So that is the difference between revenue per transaction, number of transactions. I hope that was clear. Can you hear me, Soumya?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I think
Yes.
that covered most of it, and I hope we answered all of your questions. The next one is, where can we get case study questions? We'll share some resources at the end of this. We'll drop them into the chat only. And can you briefly explain the structures for the telecom? Okay, we'll do that at the end. All right. Okay. Let's continue.
Shall we move on to segmentation then?
Yeah, let's move on to segmentation.
Okay. So, okay, guys, segmentation is like after developing a strategy, you're supposed to segment the problem. Segment is basically dividing the problem into like parts that you can think of. Okay. So segmentation is breaking down a problem into smaller, simpler parts. That is narrowing down a broad problem into a more specific problem. Okay. We do segmentation in MECE ways. Okay, MECE stands for mutually exclusive and comprehensively exhaustive. So the different ways that you've segmented, the different number of segments that you've made, they should be mutually exclusive. That is, they should not be overlapping at all. Okay, and comprehensively exhaustive would mean they should cover all kinds of segments that they can exist. Okay, so they should be exhaustive as well. Okay, so the ways that you can segment is the first way you can segment is through geography. Okay, so for example, a company sells any product, okay, any product X, and what they can do is they can measure their sales in terms of geography. So they could divide the whole country maybe into like regions, like north region, south, east, west, central, northeast. So that way they can divide it into regions, right? And that would mean the segmentation is based on geography. The segmentation can also be based on value chain. That is where in which part of the value chain the segments lies. Okay, so the three parts of the value chain that we already told you about, those would be the different segments in this case. Then there are product parameters. The product could be segmented based on color, price, size, and then there's distribution channels. Again, as we already explained, what medium you've been using to like distribute a product. So these are actually helpful in narrowing down your problem. Okay, so it could be the case that if the sales are declining, there could be a problem only with one of the distribution channels. Okay, it might be that your website is not good enough, so your online like e-commerce thing is not working out. Okay, your online distribution channel is not working out. So that way, these are the different segments, and they might help you narrow down to your problem. Okay, the specific problem. So here's a tip: your segmentation should be simple and reasonable. There's an example here. So guitar sales would not be segmented by gender, and they would rather be segmented by age group. So this is reasonable, right? Practically, you wouldn't like segment guitar sales based on gender because there's no difference there. But based on age group, you certainly could, right? So like until like college going students until like age of 24 or 25, they're more likely to buy guitars compared to elders, like those aged over 25. So you could segment guitar sales by age group, and you'd rather not do it by gender. So that is how you do segmentation. So after you're done with segmentation, this is the question that you're supposed to ask: what has changed? After you've identified what the segments are, okay, So after you're told that the segmentation for the product is done based on geography, say, and you're supposed to ask what has changed. Okay, you're supposed to ask which, like, are there any specific regions that have experienced decline in sales, or is it spread across all regions? So that way you could narrow down your problem. Okay, and that will help you get closer to your isolating your problem. So this is segmentation. I guess we'll move on to the example, and that will help you better understand the problem and segmentation. Go ahead,
Right.
Soumya.
Okay. So we're back on the problem. And here we're seeing that, okay, so I have figured out that I want to use the profit structure. I know that. Now what I have to do is I have to do segmentation. I have to ask my interviewer where the problem is. So first of all, I would ask, okay, the profits are decreasing by how much? So they tell me 20%. Then I would divide that into revenue and cost. Now I ask them one by one, how much has the revenue decreased? They would tell me by 30%. I'd be like, okay, so revenue is definitely a factor which I have to look at. Has the cost increased? They would tell me no, the cost is the same. So cost is not something I need to go further into. I don't need to divide that. I can leave cost there. That's why it's light gray. Revenue, I'll further divide into number of transactions and the revenue per transaction. Again, I would ask both of these factors, have the transactions gone down, number of transactions, or has the revenue per transaction changed? So the number of transactions, they tell me, has gone down by 30%. All right, okay, so I know there's a problem there. Revenue per transaction is the same. So again, no change there, don't need to look at it. So here I've localized the problem to the number of transactions. So I know that in this case, it appears that the root of the problem lies in fewer transactions. So again, I will now investigate into this. Why have the number of transactions gone down? So I'll do another segmentation. Based on number of transactions, I can divide it into the vehicles in the area or that are passing through the area, basically who are using the highway, into the percentage that are filling petrol or diesel, and into the percentage of market share that we capture, because there are a lot of petrol pumps in the area. And then based on vehicle type, I can divide that into car, trucks, buses, and two-wheelers. So here, again, I would draw a structure similar to this. This is why we had the paper in a horizontal manner so that you can fill all of this in. So the number of transaction at the client's pump, number of vehicles, again, I would ask each part from the interviewer, has any of these changed? Have any of these changed? Where is the issue coming up? So I find out that the percentage filling the pump has gone down. Okay, so if that has gone down, then people may have shifted to other modes of transport. So could it be that instead of using cars, trucks, and buses, they're using two-wheelers? Okay, so but then I would find out that, okay, so
So
two-wheelers, yeah.
I might say that the highways don't allow two-wheelers to ply on them. So two-wheelers
Right.
would be ruled out then.
Right. So two-wheelers are ruled out. Okay. So it's not a two-wheeler problem. So that means that okay. And have we lost any of our market share to any competitors?
No.
No. Right. And you can also figure that out from the fact that this is an industry-wide problem. So it's not just us. So market share is out of the question and percentage filling the pump is out of the question. So now looking at number of the vehicles using the highway daily. Two-wheelers are out. So it's cars, trucks, or buses. So do we know if any particular vehicle is using the highway less?
Cars are using the highway less.
All right. So here we found out that it's because of the cars. So now I would do another segmentation based on cars. I can divide the cars into the total cars in Delhi, Chandigarh, the percentage traveling between them, and the percentage taking the highway. So this is basically localizing the problem. You first off started with all of the cars, then you took only the cars that will travel between the two cities, then you took only the cars which use that highway out of that. Okay, so now since this problem has only been occurring for 2 or 3 years, I would say that the total cars in Delhi and Chandigarh hasn't reduced by that much. The percentage traveling between two cities wouldn't have reduced by that much in 2 3 years. So I'm saying that percentage taking the highway might have reduced drastically. Am I correct in this?
Yeah, you're correct.
Right. So basically, there's been a shift of the passengers using the highway. Now, why is this?
So that's because there's been an alternative flyover that has been built, and cars have been using those. The cars have been using that flyover instead of the highway.
All right. So now you can see that we've isolated the problem. We've come to the problem. The problem is that there's a new flyover being built. And because of that new flyover, which cars are now preferring, less cars are traveling on this path. And because of that, our profit in the okay, first of all, our number of transactions have gone down, and accordingly, our profit from the petrol pump has gone down. So that's the process you would follow to find and localize the problem. After this, you could give recommendations. If the interviewer says that it's not necessary, then just end the case interview there. Just quickly summarize what you found out and end it there.
Okay, so let's pause here, and if you guys have any questions, you can just type them in the chat box.
Okay, how to approach the petrol pump problem if both revenue and revenue per transaction have gone down? All right. Okay, so we looked at Anuj, can you go back to the slide?
Okay. Was it before this slide?
No. After this, the first segmentation.
Yeah.
Here. Okay. So we looked at transactions going down. Wait. Okay. And okay. So if revenue per transaction had gone down, then we can look at if okay,
Then
if
there
we're
could
not
be service as well, right? So we could explore that option as well. Why are people not visiting? Like maybe or otherwise there could be it could be the case that that smaller vehicles are refueling at the petrol pump, or maybe there's an adjacent petrol pump that might also be a reason.
right. Another factor could be that we have lowered our prices in the recent time. So that could mean that we're not getting as much revenue as we were used to. So that's how you would approach revenue per transaction. Okay, what can be the recommendation? So for recommendation, we could always say that we could shift we could either, okay, we could have a less of a supply at the petrol pump so that we don't make abnormal losses. If we're not able to cover our losses, we can always close down the petrol pump, that particular petrol pump. We could also open up a new petrol pump on the new highway that's been constructed. We can look at starting one there. So that will be some of the recommendations you have. The next question is, what is market share? Anu, do you want to take this?
Okay, so Rohan, market share here would be so if there are multiple petrol pumps in the area, then how much of the market share does our petrol pump have? Okay, so that would be the percentage of sales that our petrol pump has divided by the sales that all the petrol pumps together have. So that would be our market share in percentage terms. The next question is, what about situations where more than one factor is causing the problem? Example, say revenue is decreasing and cost is also increasing. How to localize the tree then? Do you want to answer this one, Soumya?
Yeah, okay. So there can be more than one factor causing the problem. That's no issue. You would then tackle the problem into two parts. The first part, you would look at revenue decreasing. Find the root of that problem. Be like, okay, this is the problem here, and this is what I would recommend. Then you would go to, okay, let's also look at the cost. Then you would look at the cost and be like, okay, then you would localize that separately and find out, okay, this is the cost problem, and that's how I'm going to find it. And this is what the problem is and how I would suggest you solve that. So it's not that you have to localize in one place. You can localize multiple depending on how many problems there are.
Yeah.
The next question is, revenue can also be decreased if we decrease profit margins. Yes, definitely. But then again, you would find that out in revenue and cost only. If cost is increasing or if revenue is decreasing, profit margins would accordingly come up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, but there will be high cost for setting new petrol pump. Right, so there would be a cost, but again, this is dependent on interviewer to interviewer if they ask you to go into this. If they do ask you to go into this, they'll tell you to conduct an analysis. And here you could implement a guesstimate in this and try and find out the cost of setting up a new petrol pump. See if that is counteractive and you should not do that, and see how many years it would take you to make profits eventually there.
Yeah, so it would kind of become like a market entry problem.
Right.
So yeah, you'll have to analyze the cost as well before recommending that. But you can recommend it, and only if the interviewer asks, go into the details, try and analyzing the cost.
Right. So they're just asking for recommendations in the end, and you can just recommend it there. Again, after that, if they ask you to go into it, then you will go into it.
Yeah.
Could you
You
explain
explain this.
guesstimates? We already had a session for guesstimates. Um, we
You will
can,
just share the resources, and if you could just go through them, and if you have any doubt, you can just like bring us up. That would be
yeah,
best because I
yeah,
think would be able to take a different session again.
right.
So
So message one of us, and we'll send you. If anybody needs any guesstimates resources, message one of us. We'll send it to you. If you have any doubts, again, you can contact us.
yeah.
All right. I think let's move on.
Okay. Okay. So now we come to the tips. Okay. So take notes throughout. This is what most important. Write down everything that has been said to you, like in the beginning. Write that down because you might forget. People tend to forget things in between the interview. So write everything important down. Think before you speak. This is also very important. Don't say things without thinking because that might like irk the interviewer, right? So please think before you speak. Follow the 80-20 rule. So what is the 80-20 rule? The 80-20 rule is what you do basically is if there are like two possibilities, if there are two or three possible problems, what you'll do is say for example when you're looking at a decline in profit, you can look at okay, so if there are two products A and B and there is a decline in profit, and you know that the product A is 60% of the total number of units that you're producing. Product A is 60% of it, product B is 40% of it. So what you'll do here, like this would practically you do this only, you'll look at A first because a small change in A would also mean a bigger impact compared to the same amount of change in B, right? So the 80-20 rule states that you should look at the problem which has like a larger weightage, basically. So follow this rule to basically reach the isolation of problem stage earlier, faster. Use your business insights. So here, this is basically based on your past experiences. You have developed business insights, right? Use that there, okay? So here, for example, you know that among companies that are selling laptops, Dell, for example, sells laptops across income groups, okay? But then you know that Apple targets only the premium segment, right? So that you know based on your business insights, you can use that there as well in case interviews. Manage your time. So yeah, be effective with your time. Be coachable. This would mean basically if the interviewer is trying to tell you something, try to like listen to the interviewer and yeah, be coachable. Whatever they say, try to follow that. Work the numbers into the problem. So again, here also it is very important that you're right with your math. Your math should be correct and work the numbers into the problem itself. Write that down. Solve everything on the paper only so that it becomes easier. Be creative and brainstorm. So sometimes the case can be very different. So you need to sometimes come up with creative solutions. So yeah, try to be creative and yeah, brainstorm would mean you should basically think during the interview. As you practice, you'll definitely get better at it and you'll be able to come up with solutions easier. Exude enthusiasm and a positive attitude. So this is true for all kinds of interviews. Try to be enthusiastic. Go ahead, Soumya.
I know there's a question. Please repeat the 80-20 rule.
Okay, so what I was saying was, say for example, your company, whatever the company you're looking at, it has two products, A and B, and A is 60% of all the products that you're making. Okay, you're manufacturing two products, A and B, and of all the units manufactured, A is 60% of it, B is 40% of it. And if you're looking at the products, what you should do first is you should look at A first, because even if, see, for example, there's a 5% decline in both A and B, but even then, 5% of 60 is greater than 5% of 40, right? So that would mean a similar change in both products, a similar decline or a similar increase would mean that it has a greater impact on the total value if A is considered, whereas B would mean a smaller impact. So you should look at A first. Was that clear enough? Soumya, would you like to add anything here?
Yeah, no, I think that's about it. That covers it. The ideal time for solving a case, I would say around 15-20 minutes maybe. Depends on case to case. Some cases are very
But
short.
sometimes it could also take like 25 to 30 minutes, but mostly it would be between 15 and 20 minutes only.
Yes, some cases are very short. Some cases could stretch on longer.
Also, you don't
Um,
need to look at your like watch all the time, right? You'll keep on going at your pace. Just try to be short, like try to not make the calculations very slow, for example.
right, and
Okay.
don't take like 5 minutes gaps between the between answering a question and thinking about what approach you're gonna solve. Taking 5 minutes is too much. Take about like 1 or 2 minutes to figure it out, and then start solving it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last slide is irking the interviewer. Somebody asked me in the guesstimates session, what should you not do? So there's a whole slide dedicated to what you should not do. So first and foremost, don't monologue. If you if you start answering the question and you're unsure or you start rambling, don't do all of that. Don't And even if you have an answer, don't stretch that too long. The last thing the interviewer wants to feel is that as if they're being told everything. The idea of the case interview is to make it into a conversation. Otherwise, they would just give you a case study. So don't monologue. Next one would be listen to the question carefully. Again, I would add this with repeating the objective back to the interviewer so that you don't make a mistake. If you don't listen to the question carefully or you misinterpret it and you end up solving something else, that's going to reflect badly on you as well as take you on a different tangent and waste time. The third one is don't digress from the question. So if suppose you've started solving the question and now you're unsure of what to do, don't go off on a different tangent. Just localize it to the problem. Don't put a case study inside a case study, or don't put extra guesstimates inside. Stick to what you were told to do. Don't throw out terms you're not sure of, right? So a lot of people do this. They look up some buzzwords and they'll start throwing them out. If the interviewer catches you on this and asks you what it means and you don't know, that's going to again reflect badly on you. So don't throw out terms you're not sure of. If you don't know the word for it, just say that you don't know what the word for it, okay? Or say a similar word for it, what you think it is. Again, ask the right questions. Don't ask questions which are too broad at the end of the interview. Don't ask questions which you think aren't relevant. Ask something that makes sense to the case. And that's about it. I hope we've answered. I hope we've basically gotten a gist of what a case interview is and how to go about it. If you have any questions, drop them. We'll answer.